The recording has started. So we're still on chapter 6.1, the introduction to web page design. We've already covered quite a bit of this chapter already. So we already looked at the introduction to what is a web page, how do you design a web page. We looked at the different basically the different concepts you need to understand about a web page. So what is a browser, what are the categories of websites, what are the types of websites that we have. We looked at all of those already. So if anyone has any questions on any one of that, you can let me know. If at any point in time you're not hearing me clearly, my voice is breaking up, please let me know. The internet is breaking up, let me know. So today what we're starting with, we're going to finish off this chapter. We're only going to do up to the end of this chapter here, so should be a short class. We're looking at how to plan your website, how to plan your web page. Let me ask back this question here. Does anybody remember the difference between a website and a web page?
Sir, the website is a combination of web pages.
So how would you describe a web page?
The web page is a document you can view by using a browser.
Good. And you can also consider it as a single page, right? So whenever you hear web page, think of a single page, like how I'm scrolling up and down. That would be considered like a single page. Once you don't click on a link to go anywhere else, then that is taking you to another page. So a web page is basically a single page, and a website is a collection of web pages. So if you notice, there's a lot of mentioning of web pages. There is not so much mentioning of website, because in terms of your SBA, your requirement is basically to create a web page. Your main focus is to create a single page. There's nothing wrong with having a website, basically meaning having multiple pages being linked together. Basically having a website. There's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of your SBA, in terms of what you have to do for your SBA, all you need to do is to create a single web page. That's your main focus. So that's why almost everywhere you're going to be seeing web page design, planning of a web page, because that's our main focus. So, but even though it's planning for a web page, remember a website is basically a collection of web pages. So you can also say it's basically planning your website, planning how to design your website. So, as I said in the previous class, one of your first steps when it comes to planning your website, when it comes to designing your website, your first step is to decide what is the purpose of your website. So what I'm going to be doing is giving you a series of steps, and one of the very first step is to plan what is the purpose.
You want she action is action you want to see. Start right here, because you're not writing nothing.
Wait.
So planning the purpose of your website, that is your main focus in the very beginning. So we have some examples here. Is your website for the purpose of education? Is it for educating persons? Is it for entertainment? Is it for sports? Are you making some sort of party? So you're inviting persons. And you can get your purpose basically on the various types of website. For example, is your website for entertainment purposes? Is it for shopping or e-commerce? Is it for social networking? Is it a mobile website? Those can all be the purpose of your website. And then you can further break it down. That if the purpose of the website is education, then who are you educating? Are you educating secondary school students? Are you educating primary school students? Are you educating adults? So that is the first step in planning your website. What is the purpose of your website? And when you know what is the purpose of your website, that is what will determine how you're going to design your website. Basically, what colors you're going to use, what design you're going to use, what font you're going to use. All of those aspects you're going to think about. So that is your first step there. Planning, what is the purpose? So the paragraph states, your first task is to decide the purpose of your website. Oh, so we have it here also. That's your first step. Plan what is the purpose of your website. What do you want your website to do? What is the purpose of it? Is it for entertainment, shopping, whatever the case may be? This determines what content you are going to put on your web pages, how it will be organized, and how the pages are linked. So when you know what is the purpose of your website, you'll know how to design it, and you'll also know what content is going to go on a website. When we say content, please note that we're referring to video, images, text. Those all refer to content that you're going to be adding to your website. So, and this is just a few. We have games, we have maps, other various contents that you can add, GIFs, interactive, some interactive content. So depending on the purpose of your website, it will determine what content you're going to be adding. For example, if it's a party, you're making a website for a party, obviously you're going to be adding a lot of pictures, you're going to be adding a lot of graphic. You might even be adding some animations to show how exciting the party might be. If your website is for education, you might be adding pictures, you might be adding videos of the various topics that you're talking about. So that will be determined based on the purpose. So when you've decided the purpose of your website, next you'll decide what content will go on my website. So remember I said content refers to video, images, text, and so on. What's basically going to be on the website. So content, it is very important that the message of your website is presented in a manner that captures the attention of those who visit it. So whatever you're putting on the website, it must be presented in a way, must be presented in a manner that captures the person's attention. So it's like if you ever Google poor examples of website design, you can see some examples here. Now, like for instance, this one here, it might not attract persons, not everyone, but some persons might like this kind of design. But you got to think about older persons, you got to think about persons that don't see well, persons that the different colors might affect their eyesight, even younger persons. Some persons might these various colors might be hurting the eyes to look at this image here. So the content that you're going to put on your website has to be presented in such a way that it is pleasing for somebody to look at. It's just like if you're creating a document. Good examples of website design. It's just like if you're creating a document. You don't want to use too large of a font. You don't want the font to be too small. You don't want too much information. to be jumbled up in one space. So if you notice this design here, you have a good combination of color. You have good contrast with the color. We have a white background, black text so that you can read the information clearly. Some of the information is larger so that it stands out more. Everything is not jumbled up and confusing like this one over here. Everything is basically in a suitable, effective position. So that relates to how you're going to design your content. If you're going to put images, if you're going to put text, it should have adequate spacing. It should be presented in such a way that a person is comfortable when they're looking at your web page. Now the paragraph continues. Remember, if at any point in time you have a question, you can let me know. The paragraph continues that the initial screens should attract the visitor's interest so that they want to browse your website. So the initial screen, does anybody know what is the name of the screen that the first page when you open a website? What is the name of that page? When you first open a website, that very first page, what do you call that page for that website?
Sir, would it be a home page?
Correct. That is the home page. So that's what they're talking about here. The initial screens or the home page basically should attract your visitors, because that's the very first page that they're going to look at. That's what's supposed to be catching their attention. So when you're going to design your web page, when you're going to design your website, your very first page needs to be in such a manner that it is attracting whoever is looking at it, so that they want to continue to browse the website. For example, let's look at the Ministry of Education's website. So this here is the Ministries of Education's website. Now, it might not appear to be that attractive, but it's not in all situations you're looking for something fancy and something glamorous. Because remember, what's the purpose of this website? The purpose is education. It's educational. So the way that they're gonna structure their homepage is so that persons can get to the relevant sections, get to the relevant information. So if you notice, the structure of the website is that you can have a section for parents, a section for teachers, a section for various media, and if you notice, important information is actually on the homepage, like information you want persons to see right away. Like for instance, the cash grant is coming up, so information on the cash grant is actually on the home page here. Even this is what August vocational courses, so they want persons to take part in courses during the holiday, so they're showing all this information on the home page. So the purpose of the home page is to present information so that it catches the visitor's attention. Now, you can even think about it in terms of YouTube. When you first go on YouTube, when you go on their homepage, if it does load. Now imagine as you're seeing right now, if this was YouTube's homepage, that just imagine where you see Google, you're seeing the word YouTube, and you had a search bar here, so you had to type in whatever you're going to be searching, and then you're going to be led to a video. Then not much persons would actually be attracted to that design, but more so when you see various videos, when you see various links that you have, that you can see right on the very home page, that you have all of these videos, all of these content that you can click, that you can search on, that you don't actually have to go and search for something specific. You don't have to know what to search for. Right on the home page, you could find content that you might be interested in. So that is the purpose of the home page. That is the purpose of selecting correct content to capture the person's interest when they're visiting that website. Now the paragraph continues that the main screens and connecting web pages should supply enough information and maintain a visitor's interest enough to encourage repeat visits. So it's not just the home page. Whenever the person goes onto another page, whenever they go onto another page, it should have sufficient information. It should have sufficient content. Like for instance, if you go and watch a YouTube video, then having these additional videos here actually add to the appeal of the website, that you don't have to go back to the home page and then search for another video. Right beside that same video that you're watching, you can see other content that you might be interested in. You can view other information. All of that leads to an effective website. How you use the right content and how you place your content on the website. The paragraph continues that the use of more and more combination of colors, images, sound, video, tone of language can capture or lose a visitor's attention. Now, yes, color can capture a person's attention. For instance, if it's a bright color, it might capture a younger person's attention. It might capture your attention because you're interested in bright colors, light colors. Now, when you use a combination, like for instance a combination of colors like this here, some persons might be interested in it. Some persons might like that combination of color. Some persons might not be affected by it. But other persons who are interested in design, who are interested in colors, they might not have that much of an interest. They might not have that much of appeal for the types of color that are being used. They might not like the combination of color. Like for instance, yellow and brown, and then we've seen red here. So the colors aren't matching. The colors aren't synchronizing with each other. So yes, we have a variety of colors that we can use, but when it comes to choosing colors, that is important to take note of. You don't just choose random colors because you can. You're supposed to be choosing colors that work with each other. We call those colors that harmonize with each other. So, for instance, this design here, the green and what is that, a peach kind of color, kind of working together, and then this color here. So we got a dark black with a light kind of green, grayish green, that's working well together. So colors that harmonize with each other, that work well with each other, that contrast well with each other, that is what you're supposed to be using. So if you don't know what color to use, for example on your website, you can Google what is called a color wheel. And you can make use of a color wheel. So you can use colors in two ways. One, colors that harmonize with each other. What we mean by harmonize, they're basically side by side on the color wheel. So like for instance, you could use orange and yellow. They can work together. You can use red and orange. You can use red and purple. You can use purple and blue. You can use blue and green. Because they're relatively close in the color wheel, they harmonize with each other and they work well with each other when you're designing something. Or you can use contrasting colors. contrast in color wheel. Good. So you can use contrasting colors, like for example, black and yellow. How many of you like black and yellow? I'm sure quite a few of you like black and yellow. We have black and orange. We have blue and white. We have white and green, red and white. If you notice, this one is saying poor over here. This red and blue that you're seeing at the bottom here, this green and red, this red and green here, red and blue. These are poor combinations of colors. Why is it poor? Anybody can tell me why is it poor? Why is that combination at the bottom right poor?
You have trouble seeing?
Exactly. That's the main reason. You have trouble reading it. You have trouble seeing the information. So that's your main goal. Whenever you're choosing colors, whenever you're choosing design, you want persons to be able to understand what is on your website, what they're trying to read. They shouldn't be struggling and wondering and peeping and squinting and doing all of that nonsense. They have to be able to comfortably look at your page and see exactly what is on it. So that is why you use colors that either harmonize, but to get the best effect, you would use colors that contrast with each other. That gives you the best effect. So like for instance, this black with the yellow background, it's very clear to see the text. The white background with the black text, the orange background with the black text, it's very clear to see this information, to read the information. So harmonizing colors, you might use that mainly for designing purposes. Like for instance, a background color. Let me see if you can. Yeah, like this one here, this blue design. So the blue, because it's not the same color of blue, it's different shadings of blue, but it's on the same area of the color wheel. So the colors harmonize with each other and they work well in terms of design, in terms of being able to use different colors. But when you're gonna want something to stand out, like for example 2022 design trends, you want this information to stand out, you want persons to be able to read this information, you're gonna use contrasting colors. You're gonna use a color that's gonna make it pop, that's gonna make it look different from the background, basically. So we talked about colors, how you can use colors. You have a variety of colors, but you have to know which color to use. It's not using all of the colors. You use colors that harmonize and colors that contrast. And then you can make use of all the other various content. Images, sound, video, your tone of language can refer to the text that you're gonna have, how you're gonna write the information, how you're gonna present the information. It could deal with the type of font. Maybe the font is a very bold, or it's very thin. That can lead to the tone of the language, or even the color. All of that can lead to the tone of language or the tone of the website. So you got to look at all of this when you're designing the content, when you're presenting that content. Great. So we looked at 2 steps so far: determining or choosing the purpose of your website, and what is the content and how you're gonna place that content on your website. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Alright, so we're moving on to our next paragraph: organization. Now, web pages should be well organized. So just like, remember we said a web page is like a book. A website is like a book. It's like a document. So just like how you would organize your assignment, you're going to organize your SBA, you're going to organize a book, you're going to organize some form of document. Similarly, your website must be organized. So web pages should be well organized with information arranged in categories and subcategories. This helps the user to browse through information in a sequential and logical manner, so that interesting subtopics can be selected for further reading. You should therefore sketch how the various web pages relate to each other and how you would want your website visitors to view the content of your web page. So what they're basically saying is that you need to learn how to sketch a layout of a website. Now, what we mean by sketching a layout, it's basically determining what are the main topics of your website. So let me see if I can find an example. Website layout. No, not that. Website navigation. This actually deals with the navigation, which is the next part. Okay, so like this here is an example. Let me see. Let me go back to the previous one. I'm looking for one that you can relate to. That doesn't have any information. Alright, let me go back to the first one. Give me a second. I want to give you a simple example. Okay, we can use this example here. So this here is a simple example of how you can sketch the layout of your website. What do we mean by layout? We're referring to the categories, we're referring to the topics of your website. So the categories, the subcategories, which is basically the topics or the main points of your website. So in this example here, this website's purpose is for it's a plant website, or basically a plant website where persons can shop for various plants, flowers, and so on. So at the very first stage, at the very first level, you can say this is level 1. At the very first level, remember, we're always going to end up at the home page. We're always going to open the home page first. And on that home page, you're going to see various links. So you can consider that as level 2, where you're going to go one step lower than the home page. So you can compare that to, if you go back to the Ministry of Education's website, this is the home page here. But if you notice, you have various links here that are going to take you one step lower than the home page. You have a parent section, you have a teachers section, you have a media section. So that's like a subcategory or like a subheading. So your home page is your main heading, and underneath that now you're going to have some subheadings. So in this example here, you have flowers section, you have a plants section, you have planting ideas. So each of these are individual pages. This is one page, this is another page, this is another page, this is another page here. So you have a flowers page, you have a plants page, you have a planting ideas page, you have a payment and delivery page. And think of it like a table of content. you know, when you have a table of content, you have different levels of headings. We looked at this when we were looking at Word document. You have different levels of headings. You're gonna have a main heading, then you're gonna have a subheading, then you might have a subheading underneath that subheading. So this is basically like a level 3, a subheading underneath this subheading here. So this is how you structure the layout of your website. This is how you sketch the layout of your website. You basically see that this last level here, level 4, this seedlings page, each of this rectangle that you're seeing here is a web page. This is the entire website. So this seedlings page here, what they're basically saying is that to access this seedling page, you have to go through this garden page. To get to the garden page, you have to go to the flowers page. And obviously to get to the flowers page, you have to access the home page. That's what they're basically saying here. Now, don't confuse it with, we don't mean that you can't jump directly to a whole other different level. Click on a different level and go to that level. We're not talking that you have to go through each one of these here. But if you ever look at the URL, remember this is the URL, the address of the website. You're gonna notice that there's a teachers section here. Notice in the address there's a teachers section. So what this is basically indicating here is that I actually went through the home page. So all of this is the home page. This part that I just highlighted here, that's the home page. And I went through the teachers section. That's this teachers section that you're seeing here. So that could be compared, if I was to, let me just draw that so you can see it. So this is the home page. This is the home page, and then we have to go through a teachers section. So this is like if I'm sketching the Ministry of Education's website. So you open the home page, you go through the teachers section, and in the teachers section now is where there's another section, because if you look at the URL, every forward slash that you're seeing is separating the section. Every forward slash that you're seeing is basically separating the different sections. It's giving me basically another level. So after the teachers, you notice there's a forward slash here. So there's another section, because notice there's another forward slash here. So there's a information teachers menu. So if you notice, when I hover my cursor over this teachers menu, notice there's an information section here. There's an information, and then there's a resource. So let me see if it's going to change. I'm going to click on one of the resource over here, and it should change at the top here from information to resource. Good. So see that change at the top here? It's now changed to nursery school resources, because I clicked on that resource section. But you're not seeing that teacher section because it took me to a whole different section of the website. So what I'm trying to help you to understand right now is the sketching of the layout of the website. So you have to go through various levels, and that's how you can end up at a certain section of your website. So when we go back to this one here, we're at the teachers section. So if we go back to paint, so home page, so this is level 1, teachers is going to be level 2, and then under the teachers there's the information section, as I just showed you. There's this information section here, so that might be a level 3. So there's a information section, so that's like a level 3. And and then we're at the current page we're on. Notice we don't have any more forward slash at the end here. This is indicating that this is the current page we're on. So this is the information that I'm currently reading. This is the page that I'm currently looking at. So this professional page, if we go back to Paint, you can actually, I'm just gonna draw it out to the side. So this is gonna be the actual level 4. So this is level 4. So this is gonna be professional. So this is how you sketch the layout of your website. This is like the main topic. This is like a subtopic, and this is a subtopic underneath this subtopic here, and then this is another subtopic underneath this subtopic here. So just like how you would create a document, just like how you would create your assignment, you have a main heading, you have various subtopics all falling under each other. Similarly, when you structure the layout of your website, it's the same idea. You have various headings, various topics, and some are going to fall underneath others. So if you notice, these fall under each other appropriately. It's not that you're just picking them at random, because on the flowers, under this flowers topic, or under this flowers page, we could have potted flowers. So they split up the page. They split up the different type of flowers. You can have flowers that are potted, or you can go to another page and see flowers that you can place in a garden. And then when you're in that page, when you can see flowers that you can place in a garden, you can find seeds for those kind of flowers. Because remember, potted is already planted, so you're not going to find any seeds. So it's for the garden, you're going to want seeds to plant that flower. So you can find the seeds for that plant or that flower, or you can find some seedlings. They already planted them, so they're giving you that option there. So if we were to actually do one, so say for instance, we have a home page and we're creating one for a birthday party. So we can further branch down and we can say so the home page is going to be about a party, and we're going to have different age groups of party. So we can have maybe age 10 to 16. That's gonna come down there. Then over here we can have age group of 17 to 20. Then over here we might have a age group of 21 to 25. And so basically persons that are viewing the various parties, they'll be able to see they'll be able to first choose their age group, that this is the age group party that they want to go to, and then underneath it they're going to see the various types of parties, the various kinds of parties that are underneath those age groups. So if you notice, the layout is organized. It has a logical order to it, because first you have to know what age group of the party that you're going to go to. Then you're going to know which parties belong to that particular age. Similarly, for you to know if you're going to buy a seed, if you're going to buy a seedling, you have to know if it's a potted plant, if it's a garden plant, if it's a flower that you want, or if it is a plant that you want. So the organizing must be logical, must make sense, it must be in a logical order. So are you guys clear on how to structure the or sketch the layout of a website?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna send another. Where's the website navigation? So that is why when we were, let's see here, good. So this one here. So notice with this one here is basically saying that at the top here you have a home page, then you have 3 different sections here, and then underneath each section you have a sub page, and underneath that sub page you have another sub page. So it's different levels, different subtopics. That is how you organize your information. You organize it in a logical manner. Now, organizing deals also with navigation, how a person is going to navigate your website. So navigational links can include a pull down and pop-up menus or hyperlinks to other pages. So when we hear the word navigate, what comes to mind? What do you think of when you hear the word navigate?
Finding something.
Finding something, okay. What about going somewhere? Does that come to mind? Taking you to somewhere else? So that's basically what the navigational link does. It can take you somewhere, take you to another location. It's more so of taking you to another location of your website. So it navigates you to another part of the website. So what they're basically saying is that the navigational link can be a pull down menu. So a pull down menu is when you click on something and the menu basically comes down. So like for instance this here, this is a pull down. No, this here is a pull down menu. And a pop-up menu is basically one that pops up anywhere. So you can, it's mostly a right click and it basically pops up anywhere that you want. So those can be navigational links or a hyperlink. We looked at this already. A hyperlink is basically whenever you Google something, and you see that blue text. So like, are you seeing this blue text at the top here, these blue text here? It doesn't always have to be blue, and it doesn't only have to be text. A hyperlink basically takes you to another location, but this is just a common form of a hyperlink. Even an image can be a hyperlink, because if you notice when I click on this image here, it took me to another location. That there was an example of an image being a hyperlink. So hyperlinks are usually what you use as navigational links to take you to other pages or documents or other parts of your website. So any visitor to a website should be able to move through the main categories or pages in a logical manner, or go directly to an area of interest. So they're going to go through a logical manner, because remember we talked about organization. When you're going to structure the layout, it's going to be in this organized manner. So what's basically going to happen is that you're going to have a hyperlink that can take you to flowers. Then on the flowers page, you're going to have a hyperlink that takes you to garden. Then on the garden page, you're going to have a hyperlink that takes you to seedling. So that way, it ends up being a logical manner. And we can even compare this to going back to the Ministry of Education's website. If you notice, remember we talked about this last part of the URL being this page here, but we don't have to go back to the home page to access back everything. What you're seeing at the top here, these are the navigational links. What you're seeing at the top here, these are the navigational links. And all websites have them. They have these navigational links so that you're basically not trapped on a website. You're not trapped on a certain page. You're not forced to press this back button to go back. That is the purpose of these navigational links, so that wherever you are on the website, if I'm on this part of the website here, even at the bottom of this website, I have navigational links here also that can take me to certain parts of the website or any part of the website that I want to go. So that is the purpose of the navigational links, so that you can navigate despite wherever you are on the website. Now, hyperlinks are used to connect the web pages, to other web pages or locations within the same page or external documents. We got 3 pieces of information here. A hyperlink can link you to another web page. So that's what you experience. Every time you click on a link, it takes you to a totally different web page. That is a hyperlink taking you to another page. Now we have some hyperlinks that take you, that's this part here, that take you to another location in the same page. That an example of that is this arrow that you see in here. This arrow, when I click on it, is going to take me to the top of the page. So it just took me to a different location. I was at the bottom of the page. Now when I click on this hyperlink, I am now at the top of the page. So you got to remember these differences. Hyperlinks can take you to a totally different page. It can take you to another location. And it can allow you to access an external document. So this is what mostly you guys use hyperlinks for, when you're downloading something. So whenever you click on a link to download some sort of document, like if I go to a syllabus, if I go to syllabus, and there should be I select one of the topic. Good. So that actually brought up this the download option here. So by clicking on one of these hyperlinks here, so if you notice, it's not blue, it's black. The text is black. But if you notice, when you hover over it, it changes color. So that's one way you can tell it is a hyperlink. And when you click on this hyperlink, it is going to allow you to either access a document or download that document, which is basically accessing that document. So that is what we use hyperlinks for. Other navigational links are breadcrumbs. This is a very important concept for you to understand. What are breadcrumbs? Other navigational links are breadcrumbs, which are seen in a single line below the web page header. So this single line below the web page header, they're referring to the URL. So this URL, we also call it a breadcrumb trail. The URL, we also call it a breadcrumb trail. Breadcrumbs show the path a visitor would have taken to access the current page. Very important for you to remember. Breadcrumbs show you the path that you're going to take to access the current page, with each one being a subcategory of the one before it. So if any of you realize, breadcrumb actually refers to the layout of your website. So the breadcrumb, let me erase all this so it doesn't confuse you. So say I am currently on the seedlings page. I am currently on the seedlings page. The breadcrumb is basically the path that I am going to take to access the seedlings page. So firstly, I'm going to open the web page. I'm going to open the home page, and then I'm going to go to flowers. So that's my first path. Then from flowers, I go to garden. Then from garden, I go to the seedlings page. That there is my breadcrumb. So how do you write that? You write home page, arrow, indicating that you're going from this page to the next, flowers, arrow, garden, arrow, seedlings. That there is my breadcrumb. That is telling me the path that I'm going to take to go to my final destination, to go to the page that I want to be on. So this is actually the layout of the website, as I mentioned, and you can see it at the top here, that when you go to the Ministry of Education's website, we talked about this earlier, you end up on the home page. So this here is like the home page. Then notice this teacher section here in the navigational link. Look, it's right inside of the URL. So that is the breadcrumb there. I went from home page, arrow, teachers section. Then from that teachers section, I went to a resource section. So if you notice, from teachers, we have arrow, resources, teachers, menu. So if we were to actually draw that, if we were to draw this out here, it's gonna look something like so it's gonna be home page. I'm gonna put HP for home page, arrow, the teachers section. So that's gonna be teachers, arrow. Then we have resources, teachers, menu. Remember I said the / indicates the end of a section, so this is going to be resources, teachers, menu. I'm just going to curve around the arrow to show you the rest. And then notice another / that's indicating another level, and this is the CAPE syllabus teacher. So this is CAPE, and I'm just going to write CAPE here. So that's the page that I'm currently on. So this page that I'm currently on in the Ministry of Education, the Breadcrumb Trail is going through the home page, then going to the teachers section, then going to the resource teachers menu, and then I'm going to reach to the current page that I'm on. So the breadcrumb is the navigational path that you're going to be taking, is the layout that you would have created. So if you notice, all of that, it's all linked to each other. It's basically all developing upon each other. So we have an example here. The home page is the very first page. So let me open this side by side. So home page, and then they go to plants. So let me erase on the right hand side. So let me draw in this breadcrumb here. So they started at the home page, that's 1. They go to plants, that's 2. So the home page, plants, and then 3, potted. They mixed it up. This is supposed to be flowers here, so they have this one wrong. So supposed to 1 go over to flowers, so this is supposed to be flowers here, and then 3 they go to potted, so we have 3 there. So this is 3, this is 2, and then we go to flowers. Well, I guess these two aren't related, but I'm hoping you guys getting the idea. So you guys clear on what is a breadcrumb trail? Are you guys following that?
Yes, sir.
Alright, good. Alright, so the last bit of the paragraph states that the visitor can go directly to any of the pages in the breadcrumb. So it's the same I said with the navigational links. When you're sketching the layout, it doesn't mean that you have to go through home, then plants, and then potted, because you guys know that you can bookmark a certain website. So when you bookmark that website, it takes you to that particular page. So you don't have to go through each one of these sections. What it's helping you to understand though is that when you're accessing a final page, when you're accessing when you're on a particular page, you need to understand that there's a certain path that you took to get to that destination. That's what you need to understand. So the visitor, you can go directly to any one of the pages in the breadcrumb by clicking on the hyperlink. That's going to take you to that particular location. Now, another useful set of links website can provide are those to other websites that are related to your websites. And then lastly, figure 6.1 shows you the address or URL, or it's also called the path. So remember, we talked about this in the last class. This here, it has quite a few names. We can call it an address, we can call it a URL, but the URL is the real name. We can call it a web page address, we can call it a path. All of those refers to what you're seeing at the bottom here. Now the last thing I want to show you on Breadcrumb. Breadcrumb is not only for a web page. You can also find it on your computer. So whenever you have File Explorer open, if you notice at the top here has a bar. And this bar is actually similar to the address bar of a web page. If you ever go to various folders in your on your computer, you can notice it's showing you different levels, and this is actually the breadcrumb trail to get to this particular location. So what you're seeing here right now is the breadcrumb trail to get to this resources folder. Remember, the very last thing in that trail is where you're currently at. So at the very beginning on the left, this is a C drive. That's my starting point, the C drive. That is the storage there. Then what it's basically saying is that under the C drive, there's a folder called users. Then in that folder, there's another folder called cursor. Then in that folder, there's another folder called documents. In that folder again, there's another folder called school. And in that folder of school, there's another folder called resources. This is exactly how a website is laid out. It has a main heading and various subheadings underneath it. They follow this same design concept. And this is also called a breadcrumb trail. It's the path that you're basically going to take. And just like how you know that you don't have to go through this path to get to that destination, because you could easily create a shortcut that can basically take you to that particular location on your device. Similarly, like how you can bookmark a page of a website. Alright, we looked at a lot of information today. I think enough information today. It might be too much information we looked at today. So to recap of what we looked at so far, I'm going to leave off these 2 steps here for next week. So to recap what we looked at today, we looked at how to plan the design of a website. Your very first step is to plan what is the purpose of your website. Why are you creating this website? You can use the various types of websites to determine that. Is it for entertainment? Is it for shopping? What is the purpose? Then when you're finished deciding on the purpose, you have to decide what content you're going to put, what colors you're going to use, what images you're going to use, what video, what audio, all that is appropriate to the purpose. When you decide on what content you're going to have, you need to organize that content now. Step 3, you need to organize that content. You need to put it in a logical order. The main category, then the subcategories, and you do that by sketching the layout of your website. You sketch a layout so that you can visually see that this is the structure, this is the organized path that a person is going to take to navigate my website. Now after you're finished organizing all that content, you need to create your navigational links, how persons are going to get from one page to the other using your hyperlinks. And that is basically your breadcrumb trail. Alright, any questions before we close?
No, sir.
Alright, questions going once? Questions going twice. Sold to no questions. Alright, that is it for today's class. Enjoy the rest of your day.